Ancestor. This is Lydia Nicole, your Common Sense Mamita. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Common Sense Mamita. Today, let me tell you, you guys are in for the treat of treats because I have the most amazing, funny, brilliant, talented, dynamic women. Not to mention, 3 of them are Amazon women who are sitting on the couch. They are fantastic here. And I got another one all the way from Kentucky via Skype. So, today we're going to be talking about the solo show. Take notes because we got some stuff for you. So, without further ado, I want to introduce my panel of women. Brilliant, wonderful, amazing, terrific, talented. Did I say talented? Because I want to make sure I got talented and funny and dramatic and dynamic. And not only that, they are killers at doing characters. Killers. That's what I have to tell you. Okay, so first off, we have Cynthia Levin, who is a former funny lady of color. She is an actress, she is a comedian, she is a solo performer, and she has had her hand at directing some amazing theater in Los Angeles and in Chicago and London.
Wow.
And so she's our international girl. She's our international girl. Oh, yeah. And then we got Sandy Brown.
Hello.
Phenomenal. She is a comic, an actress. She's like a black Carol Burnett.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, she is. She is funny, like pee in your pants funny. Just like Cynthia, actually. The two of them have you peeing in your pants. But Sandy Brown has this incredible one-person show called Oh, No, She Didn't. No. Oh yes, she did. It's called Oh, Yes, She Did. So Sandy Brown has this incredible one-person show called Oh, Yes, She Did about black women in history, which is really, a tour de force. And Ruthy Otero, my new friend, I love her so much. Also a collaborator with me because I'm getting ready to put my show back up. And she has been amazing at giving some fabulous notes. Ruthy Otero is an actress, funny in her own right. I mean, like funny. And she has this incredible web series on YouTube called Cookin Up Adventure. I was going into my Facebook one day and Ruthy Otero was in Russia. Not only was she in Russia, but she had a little camera and she was just recording everything running around. I was like, oh my God, a Puerto Rican in Russia. I have to know her. She's of my tribe. I need to know her. And that's how we connected a few years ago. And amazing, amazing, amazing. Then we have Mitzi Sinnott, who is coming to you from Skype, but she is hauling butt to be part of this panel. And Mitzi has an incredible one-woman show called Snapshot about growing up with her father. She's biracial, and she takes this into colleges all across the country. And she also teaches on race relations and diversity, and she's kick-ass. I'm just telling you, she's kick-ass. So, and I forgot to mention Cynthia's one-woman show.
So the last one,
Yes.
You gotta be shouldin' me. Conversations with my ego Carl.
Yes. You gotta be shouldn't me. You gotta be
Shouldn't me, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You know what she means, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, welcome, ladies, to Common Sense Mamita.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you.
Thrilled to be here.
I wanted to talk about the one-person show because it's a monster. Doing a one-person show is like riding a savage animal that you're not trying to tame, but you're trying to just go with the flow of it because it's so massive when you start doing it that, you know, the title is deceiving, right? It says one-person show, but it's really about team effort. I wanted to talk to you guys about the first time you decided you were going to do a one-person show. What the hell were you thinking? That's what I want to know.
Well, I was doing stand-up. I had been doing it about 2.5 years at the time. So really, I had a lot of balls, didn't I? You know? And what right did I have? So I basically just like scraped.
But that's who you are, Cynthia.
Yeah. So
You're fearless.
Yeah. And it was actually, and right before I was about to, and that show was called You're Not a Little Shit Anymore. I'm not a little shit anymore. SH ... Yeah. No, it'd be ... because that would be how you spell shit. But anyway, I'm not a little shit anymore. Basically, and the idea of the show was basically, it was like the first time where I thought, like, where I did have the balls to do something. So that was me, because I used to be called a little shit by my dad. And I always pictured little pieces of poo, and I thought, oh, that's me. That's who I am. Anyway, so that was a big deal that I did this show. And it ended up being a sold-out show. It was me doing, like, all my stories and characters and all this kind of stuff. And it was like amazing. And I was super duper sick right before I was about to do the show. Like basically had a breakdown. Just like, you know, who the fuck do you think you are type of breakdown. Like, how dare you? I was like, a mess. You know, and then I couldn't even talk or anything. And then I had no voice.
So you had a nervous breakdown.
I mean, well, basically. And so, and then I don't know if maybe. I mean, who knows? I get so used to feeling sickening that I just thought that was sort of normal. It was just a little extra. And so then, I lost my voice. And then I went and did the show. And I just started talking. I was like, oh, it was as if I was never ill. There's no problem. Because, you know, it's like, it's your ego. I always talk about the ego. And it was, you know, your ego attacks when you're doing something that's challenging. So my ego attacked me. I didn't know it at the time. I just thought, you know, I'm just scared. But anyway, I did it and it was great. And so that was me. That was my first one-person show. And ended up doing them like about 9 or 10 more after that. Because for me, it was every time I had an epiphany or I needed to take my life in my own hands, I needed to tell the story. I needed to share it. That's how I operate. So that's why I started doing them.
But as a comic, you also have a platform to do that. So why did you choose the one-person show platform as opposed to saying, okay, I'm just going to tell jokes about my epiphany?
Yeah, well, because I think stand-up, you know, there's a certain thing to stand-up. You know, you have to sort of please the audience to a certain degree. And because I had such a sickening life and I had to keep, like, recovering from it. And by doing it, like, I would have an epiphany around what I just went through. Then I would write a whole show through that. And so then it was almost like, so then I needed all that time. And I really couldn't do it in little pieces on stage. I mean, you know, some things you could, but for the most part, I had to tell this particular story. And it was shown through all these 20 different little stories, something like that.
Awesome. I'm going to jump to Mitzi.
Yeah.
Hey. So, Mitzi, you're an actress and a dancer. And what got you to do a one-person show?
For me, it was a little bit of everything. Similarly, my show was born in 2004. Around I was living in New York City, and I had just found my father in Honolulu. George Bush and Congress were considering invading Iraq, and people in New York were protesting about no war, and I felt like at that moment when I had discovered my father, a Vietnam vet, how his life had been destroyed, and how my own personal life was really coming to a head with things from my past, I had no choice but to tell the story. Because when I was like, look, I didn't create the conflict in Vietnam. I did not create racism, the reasons why my family are all torn apart. I felt like if I didn't tell the story, I was going to implode. And I very naive, thinking, if I tell the story, maybe people will think twice before going to war. I had those feelings all at the same time. And within 2 months, I took this Cheryl King's solo writing workshop. And what was great about the workshop was I had already started writing the piece. It was coming out. Like, I was dying. Like, if I didn't write this shit and get it out, I was going to die or explode one. And so every week we would put something up in front of audiences, pieces of it, which was great. So I got that cathartic experience, but I also got to see in that moment what was going to work in a scene and what would not. And within a few months, it didn't take long for this piece because, again, it was like a long time coming. And it was up within 3 months.
Wow. And Sandy, you are incredible at doing characters. What got you to do Oh Yes She Did?
I've been doing stand-up for a while. I had thought of doing a solo show. It seemed so daunting, and then the decision of what to do with that. I remember seeing yours, and I was so inspired by yours and the characters, even the table read. They were just floating, and they were alive, and it was amazing. I took a course, I took a workshop with Adela Barnes, and I took a workshop with Roger.
And Adela Barnes is
the president of the Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival.
and the founder.
The founder and a phenomenal performer in her own right. And also Roger Gwynver Smith. And he is an amazing solo artist that you see his shows on HBO, etc. I was moved by Roger's because his was historical and particularly.
Was that one?
Yeah, the Huey P. Newton story. Is that what you saw?
And what I was riveted by the fact that he did that whole show sitting down, and he only got up once, and that was all inside the chair to sit up, and then he sat back down. But he held the audience, he grabbed them by the neck and didn't let go, and it was wonderful to see him do that and bring it to life. And his class was specifically for solo artists, historical solo artists. So I go to the class, and I'm ready. I'm revved up with my characters and stuff like that. And everyone else there who had signed up for the workshop brought in their personal solo show. And so he had to switch gears of what it was about and go in that direction. I was like, I came prepared. He's like, well, what do you have? And I just started doing Shirley Chisholm and a couple of other people. And so, I got a little help there, but I was so determined because it's a different route than if it was a personal one. And I was asked to do a performance for a campus. And I needed to pull that show together, and I did the research, and so as I got started with the show, I did it once as a kind of a pop-up for Black History Month, and it's Oh Yes She Did It. It chronicles 400 years of American history through the prism of legendary Black women who changed the course of American social history, and it captures each of the women
from Phyllis Wheatley,
Harriet Tubman, to Shirley Chisholm, to Angela Davis, to Rosa Parks. There's 14 women. But I realized when I did it for the quick one, it was extremely satisfying. But I realized I really had to go deeper to honor what that was. So because each of the women, you can do a scene, but if you don't understand the context of the times in which they lived, and what happened before and what's happening, you can't fully show the impact. And so I had to go deep into research, and I went deep underground. I didn't do any TV, I didn't do stand-up, usually I go overseas every year. I just went woodshed and researched and researched and researched. And because there's a difference in researching costumes and dialect and things like that, because there's a difference. You carry yourself differently if you're wearing a corset versus a dashiki. You know what I'm saying? And that informs how you speak and how you move. So it was very important to me. But as I was researching, I was like, this is so heavy. Who would want to see it out of there? I would just keep typing this, get myself up, and then I had to go through that journey to find the funny that helped them make it through each of that, because each of them are on each other's shoulders. And so going through that, it affected me deeply. But when you find the funny, then that's the magic there. So that's how I started, and I actually worked backwards with my show with that. I saw each of the women, and I got the period clothes, and whether I made them or found them, etc., and put them together and did the photo shoots for each of the women. It's the icon, the branding of it is Josephine Baker in the middle with her banana skirt, and then all of the other women all the way around, in a circle, or underneath actually. And she did from slave ship to spaceship, because it's a journey. So it's beyond just doing individual Black women. There's a through line of the change in America, the social changes in America that made it possible for this, and how each of them were pivotal somehow in that. I say all that to say, I did the photographs of each, capturing them first, and I looked at it, and I studied, and it came to me on the story with each of them to fit them into a solo show. So that's my first thing, because my first idea was to do it based on aspects of my stand-up. That's what I originally wanted, and that one was actually written before this
That's
one, but
the
I knew
apocalypse one.
that's my apocalypse one. I have it's called it's the Apocalypse Be Fabulous, and but I know that one is so grand that I would need to prove myself with one to get the backing and to be able to expand and show this one the way it needs to be done. Yeah, so that's how I got started, and in the solo show experience, and it's been so rewarding. I just want to tag on before we move on. As an artist who does characters, you get asked that a lot. Why not do a solo show? What's great about that versus stand-up comedy is that you can take a concept and bring it to the stage and flesh it out, and you don't have the laughs per minute demand that you have when you have to wrangle and keep an audience on the seats, because an audience that's there to see a solo show is there for the details. They want want you to take them on the journey. They don't need the punch, even though you can still work things and still be funny and still have that same reaction at the end, where that's the catharsis of laughing so hard, it just in a different mode. You know, you get to work other gears, and stand up comes into play nicely with that. You know, so I'm looking forward to for that, and I love the fact that that she shared that per epiphany, boom, and bring it to the stage. I'm bringing it to. I love that. I love the immediacy of that, and that's beautiful.
Thanks, Sandy.
Ruthy, what got you going into solo shows?
I don't know at what point, because when I started acting in high school, I would do improvs, and I just happened to be good at them, like performing alone. And then I was in a sketch comedy troupe, Salsoul Comedy Troupe in New York. We performed at Caroline's, and that it was a regular thing. But I wanted to say something, and sketch comedy wasn't about saying something per se. So then I would see solo performers, and then I don't know why, I just felt like I was meant to do a solo show, that I could and I will, but I was terrified, because being in New York, I'd see really amazing people, and I'd see really bad people, so it was just like, oh my God, I'm not as good as them, but I could be as bad as that? Oh my God, this is dangerous territory. So, unlike what you said, I think it takes balls of steel to do stand-up comedy, and I took a class, because I did sketch, so it was just easy being in that sort of environment. But it, like you also shared, it didn't feel like a vehicle where I had the pressure, 4 jokes a minute at least, and then an environment where they could be like talking to each other and talking about how cute the waitress is and being drunk and talking back. No, thank you. Didn't want that. So that's why the solo show felt like it was something that I was meant to do, and I wanted to have the permission to say something, because I felt I'd seen a lot of really great comedians too who could say something, but knowing the music and science of comedy, I was like, it'll be 5 years before I could have even a 20-minute or an hour show. So it was mostly about, I could make you laugh, I could make you cry, I could not be funny, and you're not going to ask for your money back. So that's why solo shows for me.
And so you've done 4?
4.
You've done 4 so far. So we have 9, 4, 1, 1, 1. Just trying to keep tabs here.